Welcome to the Light of Conscience podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. This week, I interview Erin Thole Blakely, a good friend of mine from Minnesota who now lives in Texas. She is a certified natural health practitioner, among many things, and I cannot wait for you to hear the wisdom that she brings to this podcast. I hope you join us both in the Light of Conscience community on Facebook. If you enjoy this podcast, I also would invite you to subscribe wherever you're listening, maybe even write a review, and share it with a friend. The more the merrier in the Light of Conscience. We'll see you there. And let's make love to the beauty of the lives we meant to live, and bathe in the creation of the gifts we seek to give. It's enough to sit and listen, it's enough to say good try. Don't know about tomorrow, but right now we're shining bright. Keep shining bright. Erin, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm really excited that you're here, and I want to ask you first off about how you came to the realization that you're a Awai Shower and how you show up in the world as a Awai Shower.
I think it was just a progression, really. I don't know, like it ever occurred to me until I was told multiple times by different people and stuff like that, that I was more intuitive than most people, more connected than most people, just different things like that people would say, and just how my spirituality has like developed over the years and things like that. I just feel like I'm a lot more grounded in that and solid in that now. I just feel like you see more, of like what the universe has to offer, and just like the trickle down effect or butterfly effect, I guess, of many different things. So does that answer that question? I'm not sure.
Yeah, of course. I always say it's different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So,
true.
Some people are like, it was at this point in time. In fact, yeah. I think I posed that question on Facebook, and somebody said, because LC told me, it's like, all right, great. And I think, Awai Shower isn't really it's not a super common word. Light worker is a lot more common. I don't know. I connect to Awai Shower a lot because it's the leaders, right? So we're here to really show a different way and be kind of present in this world in a different light. So that's kind of, you've totally answered the question. Everybody that answers it is going to have a different thing to say. And that's what I love about this whole Awai Shower thing. It's so individual, and yet here we all are now to make a difference in this world. And I think it's just important to remember that we're not alone, and we're all here differently, and we're not supposed to be the same as everybody. We're not maybe supposed to be comfortable in this world necessarily.
True. Yeah, you kind of learn that more and more as time goes on, like getting comfortable with the uncomfortable kind of situation.
Exactly. That's so funny, Erin. I had an interview yesterday, and I think it might air after this one, but I said the same exact thing to him.
Really?
Yes, to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. That is awesome. So
that phrase became popular, or it is popular among like the CrossFit community, and I'm a CrossFitter. So we like talk about that all the time, like it applies to everything, really.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So one thing I want to ask you, just because I'm curious more than anything, what time of day were you born? Do you remember? Obviously you don't remember, but do you know?
I remember. Yes. It was, I believe it was like 4:10 or 4:20 or something like that in the afternoon. I know it was in the afternoon.
In the afternoon. Okay. Because just so all the listeners know, Erin was born about, let me count. So maybe 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Hours.
Oh, like 16 and a half hours after me.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm a Libra and she's a Scorpio.
So there
But
are
really, we're both.
we really straddle that line since we're both on the cusp.
We really do. Anyway, so it's really fun to have a friend with a birthday so close to yours because it's just so easy to be together. It's like, oh, look, it's like me. Yay.
Understand a lot of things about each other and how each other thinks,
Yeah.
feels, all those things.
Yeah. So there's an understanding. There's a level of understanding, I think, that, it's maybe deeper than a lot of other places or relationships.
Truth. I agree.
So I want to talk to you also about, the work that you're doing in the world, especially as it relates to digestive health and how it affects all other aspects of our health.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that, because this is really, when I met you, you were already working in this field. And so that was a long time ago.
A long time ago. Yeah, I started, it's been a progression, obviously, as is everything, but I started practicing about 10 years ago. Maybe 10 years in August. I'm a natural healthcare practitioner, so I work at finding the root of an issue, instead of covering up symptoms or just saying, oh, here, take this, and that'll make that uncomfortable feeling go away or whatever. I'm looking for the why. Why are you having heartburn? Why is your thyroid acting crazy? Why are you getting bloated? Why are you tired all the time? Whatever the issue is. And 99% of the time, things lead back to the gut, because the gut is the root of everything: our ecosystem, our immune system, how we digest food, process and assimilate our nutrients from our food, plays a huge role in detoxification. All these things is referred to as the second brain. You have more brain chemicals, neurotransmitters, like serotonin, dopamine, things like that in your gut than you do in your head. So everything is really related to the gut. So I teach people, we figure out what's going on with them, no matter what their issue is that they're coming to me with. Figure out why that's happening. 99% of the time it's gut related. Even if they're not having traditional digestive symptoms, there's still a link in the gut. And then I really focus on teaching people how to be in tune with themselves, how to listen to their own bodies. Because a lot of times people come to me and they're like, I just want you to write out exactly what I should eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so I don't have to think about it. And it's like, okay, but then you're not tuning into your own needs. You're not listening to your own body on what you might need this day or that day, because you worked out harder this day, so you need more protein and fat. Or you just kind of lounge around on the couch this day, so you don't really need that much food at all, or, anything in between. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to instead teach you how to figure out what you want for yourself, so you're empowered in your own health and you're in control of your own body, your own health, how you feel, how, different symptoms and things affect you. So it's not all these things happening to you. If something, creeps up, you can identify why that's creeping up. Oh, that's because I went out and I had ice cream, and I know that, I'm really, really sensitive to dairy, or sugar doesn't agree with me because I don't digest starch as well, or whatever the fact is. And then you can, move on from there, because you know why things are affecting you, instead of just being like, oh, I don't know, this just happened, what do I do about it now? So I'm really trying, one of my main focuses is trying to teach people how to be their own advocate, how to take control of their own health, and really, that old saying of teach someone to fish, they, can eat forever, you give them a fish, they eat for a day, kind of thing. So I want to teach my clients how to fish instead of just giving them a fish. So that's one of the biggest things that I do in my practice, is really helping them to feel confident in what they're doing.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
I'm feeling it. I'm like, oh my God. So now I have more questions, of course. And I'm not going to ask you to give away your trade secrets or anything, but I'm wondering if there's one of the main things that people find to affect them most in their diet. They come to you and you're like, okay, What, like, is there an elimination practice that you have, or what's like one of the main things that affects people the most? Does that make sense? What one of the main foods?
So I always recommend that my clients do a food sensitivity panel. And I run one of those on literally everybody. It's the cornerstone of a good program. You have to know what foods affect you negatively. What foods are making your immune system go crazy, your inflammation levels go up, make you just feel nasty, you know? So we have to know that. It also tells us a lot about the ecosystem of the gut. So if you have a bazillion foods on your panel, say like 20 or 40 or something obnoxious like that, that's a lot of food. So we know that there's probably some leaky gut syndrome going on, a lot of inflammation. Your digestive system and your immune system are not in balance at all. And there's just a lot of ickiness going on that needs to be addressed. You know, bacterial infections and yeast infections in the gut and stuff like that are pretty typical with higher amounts of food sensitivities. And then the food panel also helps us to figure out what macronutrients, you know, your carbs, your proteins, and your fats, those are our 3 macronutrients. Which of those, sometimes it's all 3, you're not digesting well. And then we can figure out a game plan for fixing that issue. So everything is fixable. So I don't really do like an elimination diet where it's like, let's try this and let's try that. Instead of just trying all these random things, let's just go straight to the source and figure it out. So
yeah, that sounds really smart. Can you tell us a little bit about what the food panel entails? I'm not sure what that is. Like,
so it's a blood test.
Okay.
We're just looking for antibodies to certain foods, which indicates whether your body is having a reaction. You know, the immune system is overreacting and attacking a food like it's a foreign invader, as if it was a virus or a bacteria or something like that. So the food panel just tells us and gives us those results of what the body is having, you know, reactions to. You kind of have to be careful on which lab you go with, because food panels are becoming very, very popular. And, you know, everyone wants one done, which is great and awesome, and you should. Everyone should have one done. But different labs are catching on to this, and so they're trying to create super cheap ways to sell a food panel. But many, many times, more often than not, the results are not accurate. And that's because they do something, the most popular way to do a food panel is to do something called batch testing, where you run, the company will run like 200 panels through a machine at the same time. So my results are on your panel, your results are on mine, Joe Schmo down the street, his results are on both of ours. So it's inconclusive. And if you're paying for something, whether it's cheap or not, if it doesn't give you the results that you want and that you need to fix your health, it's a waste of money. So I use a lab called Immunolabs, which does not do batch testing. There's only 2 labs, I believe, in the U.S. that do not do batch testing, where they test each individual sample as it comes into the lab, and they don't run everything through a machine, and they guarantee the results, meaning if you sent in 2 separate panels, they would come back, the results will come back exactly the same. So if your lab can't guarantee that, then it's probably not a lab that you want to work with. Yeah, that's what the panel is, then that's why it's important to go with quality over cheap, I guess. Because otherwise, why have it? You know, if like your results are inaccurate, or if it's telling you to cut out foods that aren't even an issue for you. Like, I really love food, and if a panel came back that was telling me I had to cut out like watermelon or something like that, which I'm obsessed with right now, I'd be pretty upset if I didn't actually have to cut out watermelon. If it was, you know, Joe Schmo down the street, that's what was supposed to be on his panel. But now it's showing up on mine for no reason. You know what I mean? So
absolutely, I do. I have a question, another question then. So like, say somebody wants to work with you, because you work with people all over the world, all over the country.
I've had a couple of international clients before, yeah. So
okay, so really anybody can work with you, like anywhere.
As long as we can figure out time zone stuff, which really isn't as difficult. Like, I have quite a few clients in Hawaii all of a sudden, which is super awesome. that's a 5-hour time difference. So it's not really too bad. We just have our appointments usually like in the afternoon time here, which is in the morning there. And
so what about the labs though for them? I mean, are these labs that do it correctly everywhere, or how can they get their
really
food lab?
the beauty of it is I use specialty labs for all the panels that I do. So if we're testing hormones, we're going with this specific lab. If we're testing foods, we're going with that specific lab, and so on and so forth. So when I start working with someone, I ship all of their panels, like a series of kits, to them. And they will take the kit along with the prescription form that's rubber banded to it to whatever draw location, which is usually, if it's in Texas, it's Any Lab Test Now that I use, which is just a lab that draws blood. They do run a couple of their own panels that people can, purchase whatever, but they also will just draw blood for you if you need it, or send them to a hospital if they're not in Texas. And then the hospital will just do the draw for you. The shipping supplies are all in there. They package it up and they ship it for you back to Immunolabs where the sample is actually tested.
Okay. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you also wanted to talk about the root cause of disease. I have to mention this right now because I love it so much. So Erin and I are both from Minnesota. Yeah, but we don't say it like that. But
up north. But you're kind of from up north, so I'm sorry.
Right. Well, yeah, I am. Anyway, but the truth is, when you were saying root cause, you said root. And I'm wondering if they say root or root in Texas and you just kept root because you're stubborn about your accent, or if you actually say root and roof in Texas as well as in Minnesota. Because here and everywhere else that I've been in the world, it's roof and root.
Yeah, it is. I talk the way I talk, I guess.
Perfect. I am what I am.
If I'm teaching a seminar, sometimes I will try to actively change how I say the word root. Because I was teaching a seminar once a little while after I moved here, and it was like one of my biggest seminars I had taught at that point in time, like in Texas. I think there was like 25 people in the class, and I'm just like talking about root cause and da-da-da-da-da. And like a couple people are like leaning forward, these questioning looks on their face. And finally this one lady raises her hand. She goes, "What is that word that you keep saying?" And I was like, "What word?" She's like, "Rut? Is that the word?" I was like, "Yeah, like a carrot, a potato, a turnip, rut." And she's like, "Oh, you mean root?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah." Same, right?
Well, to me it is. I know what you mean.
So now I will try, if I remember, to change it when I'm doing a seminar.
Okay. Yeah. And now that all of the listeners know what root means, I would like to talk about the root cause of disease, which you kind of touched on, but is it always food, or is it deeper than that? Or I guess not deeper, but different.
Food is pretty deep because it's really the foundation, of our existence, keeps us alive. There's usually sometimes there's other components, like when a person has an autoimmune condition or something like that, like there's always a digestive link 100% of the time. You have to have a digestive link, the immune system is unbalanced, and there's some kind of like environmental trigger that happens that causes an autoimmune condition. So sometimes it's like food sensitivities coupled with chemical toxicity, or like an Epstein-Barr virus, or, some other kind of virus or bacteria, mold, parasite infestation that's been there for a long, long time that just hasn't been dealt with, coupled with the digestive issues. But you can't hold on to those infections unless the conditions are correct for those conditions, those bacteria, whatever else, to thrive. So if the conditions are right to support health, you have health. if the conditions are right to support dysfunction and dysbiosis, then you have, you know, dysfunction and dysbiosis, I guess, which dysbiosis is just an imbalance within the body, being unwell, unhealthy. So, you know, it's kind of like the food thing has to be, that is the driver. You know, food is our biggest medicine. So yeah, that's pretty much, the gut is pretty much always the root of the issue.
I'm all like, I'm like, because I feel like I have a real life example I can share. So, just out of college, I guess, I remember, this is just crazy. I remember that I was diagnosed with mono.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that I had it. I had no idea. But the only reason like they figured out that I had mono is because they ran a liver test and the numbers were really high on that. But the whole point is, there's two things. One, I fell asleep during a Smashing Pumpkins concert.
Oh my.
Yeah, right? I had mono, so now I know why. Because I wouldn't, how can you even do that? It's Smashing Pumpkins. But anyways, so that, you know, all I knew was that I quote unquote had mono. So I just rested a lot and I watched a lot of The Office, and we're doing that again now. It's really funny. And okay, so fast forward to when I moved out here. Okay, actually in Ashland as well. So kind of, you know, when I went off to Ashland and then I went and I moved here, I always felt just a little bit like not as healthy, and not like I always felt like I was just carrying a few extra pounds, always. And I didn't know why. Like in Ashland, it's so easy to get just amazing, fresh food, gluten-free, dairy, everything free. There was gluten-free, dairy-free pizza with cheese that actually melted and tasted like heaven in Ashland. And so, I mean, I rarely ate dairy and I rarely ate any wheat. I was vegetarian for most of my time there. I started eating meat a little bit at the end. But fast forward to my trip here, or my trip, my move here. It was my trip and I'm still tripping. I met my husband who has low thyroid. He's going to listen to this, so I'm just not going to say anything, but he kind of noticed some symptoms in me and said that I should get tested. And at this point I was kind of just open, like, okay, well, whatever. I'm just going to be open to whatever is going to help me. And frankly, I had hardly any money at all. And so I had like free health insurance. No, nothing's free, but I had, you know, I didn't pay for my medical insurance. So I went to the doctor, blah, blah, blah. He ran a test. My thyroid hormones were like slightly low. However, he said he was right. They're low. And he put me on medication. He put me on 2 different types of pills. Fast forward to the future when I had another doctor, because I wanted to change doctors. I just didn't like this guy. So I moved and I changed doctors, and it was another female, because I just like female doctors. I don't know. I've had some male doctors and they're fine too. But she was like, I wouldn't have put you on the second pill. Try just this one. Okay. Ran tests. I had to go down a level. Like 3 times. And then I went and I wanted to talk to her again, because frankly, I don't want to be on pharmaceutical medication if I don't have to be. So I went to talk to her again and I showed her my very first test result, and she said, oh, wow, I wouldn't have put you on anything with that. I mean, the numbers can fluctuate a little bit here and there and everywhere. Okay. You and I both know Kelly Spencer. I'll put a little plug for her in the show notes here. But so I had kind of talked to her about, I think it was like an email question that I sent her. She's a medical intuitive among many other things, but I had asked her about should I be on this thyroid medication? And it's funny because my answer that came back had nothing to do with the thyroid, but more just like life in general. So I asked her again, I said, I don't get it. What does this have to do with anything? And then she said, you drink a lot of, you have too much fruit. Thyroid really needs a lot of protein as a vegetarian, which she didn't know that I wasn't a vegetarian anymore. But as a vegetarian, you need to really make sure you're getting enough of the protein that you need. And then the main thing is sugar. The main thing was just you have too much sugar. The thyroid issue is connected to the Epstein-Barr virus. Yep. And I'm like, what? So then I'm like, wait, I have that. Like, I've had mono. I don't think that if you have a virus, it's just there, right? So it'll resurface. So another thing that was happening was I was getting cold sores like crazy.
Oh yeah.
So she recommended me take golden seal or myrrh and stop eating so much sugar, which I don't eat a lot of sugar like some people.
Yeah.
But like every morning I was having fruit in my smoothie. So I don't do that anymore. And those went away. And now I'm completely off the thyroid pills because I'm just like, I'm going to try not doing it. Yeah. And I feel great and I feel fine and my body hasn't even changed. So it's just interesting. And I think a lot of it had to do with the diet. I just didn't know. So I went to pharmaceuticals when I didn't even need them. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are doing that.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. With the thyroid, though, the ranges that they have set up are typically so large because how we test thyroid is stupid, really, in all honesty. So each lab is allowed to set up their own reference ranges based on the average person that comes into that lab within a given period of time. So let's say like a year or whatever. So if I'm having my thyroid tested, you're having yours tested, and 100 other people are having theirs tested, it's because we think there's something wrong with our thyroid. So why are they taking the average of sick people and telling them that they're well? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. So when I look at a thyroid panel, I'm comparing the numbers that come back on a person's panel to what's called functional medicine ranges, which are the ranges that are proven scientifically to be the ranges in which most people's thyroid functions optimally. So the ranges are much, much more narrow. And there's a lot of people that fall through the cracks where they're told that they don't have a thyroid issue when actually they do. I see that all the time, constantly. So the root of the thyroid issue, as with everything else, like we've been talking about, is rarely the thyroid. It's the digestive system, the adrenal glands, the pituitary gland, combination of those things, your insulin levels being all crazy, blood sugar levels being all crazy, whatever, or a combination. So if we can figure out what is actually driving the thyroid issue, like for you, it was the Epstein-Barr, it was the virus, and then it was not having enough protein. So if you can kill the virus and you can increase your protein, decrease your sugar and starches and things like that, the thyroid really thrives. So your hormones need protein and they need fat to function. You know, we don't really need all this crazy starch and sugar that we eat. So yeah, that's a perfect example of that, you know. And the thyroid meds, like, most people don't need them. We just need to figure out why the thyroid's acting all crazy and then fix that problem, and then there you go.
Yeah.
Some people do need them because their thyroid's so far gone, but we can still do things to correct it as much as humanly possible so they can at least lower their dose or go to 1 pill instead of 2 or 3 pills, you know? So.
Yeah, definitely. That's really cool. Is there any other like tips or any other advice you have for people that might be feeling like they just don't feel quite right, but they don't know what it is? Like, what's their first step? Is it contacting you? I would.
Yes. I do free consultations. So all you have to do is email me, you know, or go to my website, check out what I'm about, and then email me from there. My website is erinthole.com, which is just my name, ERINT as in Tom, HOLE.com. And my email address is thole.erin@gmail.com. And then we can, you know, just hash it out and figure out what's going on with you. What are your symptoms? What are your goals? Here are your options for working with me. All that good stuff. The other thing is just making sure that you're eating protein, animal protein, with every single meal. Don't be afraid of fats. Fermented veggies go a long way for healing the gut and helping with getting that good bacteria in there. Just making sure that your fermented veggies are fermented in a saltwater brine instead of vinegar, and that they say on the container that they contain live active cultures, it's a live raw probiotic or something like that. So you are getting quality and not just something that's been pasteurized or irradiated and all the good bacteria is dead. So it's not going to help you out. So Bubbies and Wild Brine are two good brands that I really recommend with those.
What was that first one?
Bubbies.
Bubbies?
Yeah.
There's a Bubbies in Hawaii. So if you're in Hawaii, don't go get a bunch of Bubbies. Because you know what Bubbies is? It's
No.
multi ice cream balls. They're so good. But they're so sugary.
Really?
And
Oh,
milk.
yeah. Not that. Not that.
Oh, that's so funny.
Talking about pickles and sauerkraut.
Yeah, like Pickled Planet in Ashland.
Yeah.
All right. We actually have that over here too.
Really? Go there.
Yeah, you come to Hawaii.
I know. I need to come.
That's very interesting. So you mentioned that people should be eating animal protein.
Yes.
What do you say to people who refuse? Because there are people that just won't do it.
There are, and I've had clients like that before. When we get their food panel, and I used to be vegan, so I understand complex. I understand you don't want to hurt this living being that like has a personality and emotions and things like that. Totally get that. Totally get it. However, from my own health experience, my experience with my practitioners with my clients for the last 10 years, I have found that it is absolutely imperative to have some good quality protein from an animal source, a good quality source of that protein too, not conventionally raised, factory farmed animals and stuff like that. Like that's toxic and poison and not good for anybody. So making sure that your animals are happy and healthy where they're being raised is really, really important. I've had some clients where we just start with like bone broth and collagen powder, and that's all we do for a really good amount of time. And then we slowly start to add in something else, whatever feels comfortable to them. Because the fact of the matter is, every single time, not sometimes, every single time I have a vegetarian or a vegan client, I tell them before they come into the program, I'm not guaranteeing that your test results will say that you should be a vegetarian or a vegan. I'm going to build your program and help you based on what your results say. So every single time that has, we've had this conversation, I've had clients have been vegetarian and vegan, their panels come back with the most food sensitivities out of anybody else, like my meat eating clients. They always have way more leaky gut. They always have way more thyroid problems, way more adrenal fatigue, and their gut is just a mess because beans and grains don't digest well. They just don't. Especially beans. They contain a lot of anti-nutrients, which make it really, really hard for your body to break down and assimilate the nutrients from those foods. So even if they're, beans, half a cup of this has 15 grams of protein or whatever in it, you're probably not actually absorbing that because of the anti-nutrients. So a lot of people are really depleted. They're malnourished even though they're eating, and they have all these health issues and their gut's completely destroyed. We can rebuild that, but we have to get out the inflammatory things. So I never tell anyone that they can't be vegetarian, they can't be vegan, but I just say, whatever your test says is what your test says. This is what your body is telling me. If you want to get well, we have to make these changes. Otherwise, you're just going to have to be okay not feeling well just so that you don't have to eat meat. If that's your choice, that's your choice. But if you want to be healthy and be able to live a productive life and whatnot, we might have to make some decisions and some changes. You're not going to go and eat steak tomorrow and be okay with it. It's going to take time, and you might never eat steak. That's fine. I mean, I'm just building the program not off of, because what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another person. That's completely true. I'm building the program off of what your body is telling me it needs and it doesn't need.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I actually had to, because I told, as I mentioned before, I was vegetarian for like 5 years, I think. And look, my thyroid was messed up, but and not all. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm gonna assume that not all vegetarians and vegans have health issues. That diet might work for some people, but it didn't for me. And I kind of had to not talk myself into it, but it is a change. It's a change, and you have to really come to an acceptance of it. And I just realized one day I was walking outside in Ashland, and I thought, this is the body that was created for my soul, right?
Yeah.
How am I respecting creation, everything, myself, whatever source, if I don't take the best care of it that I can take for it? Like, if I'm not giving it what my body needs, then that is such a slap in the face of, I'm like slapping God in the face and being like, well, screw you, man. This isn't good enough for me or whatever. And it's just like, no, I have to. So I do my best too. I do my best to choose the meat that's raised with the least impact on the environment as possible. That's the reason I went to be a vegetarian in the first place, was because of how our farming systems destroy the earth. And there are people out there doing it a different way.
Yeah.
It's a matter of finding it.
Normal, natural way how animals are supposed to be raised instead of conventional farming, which conventional farming is horrible for the environment. Yes, it is. But yeah, like you said, that's why we make better choices and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I was vegan for 5 years. I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but when I decided that I was going to start incorporating some animal products in, I started with eggs. And do you remember I called you and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And you had to talk me off the cliff.
I remember.
This is what your body needs. Eat the damn egg.
I remember. I do.
I was all right, all out bawling about the egg.
And I get it. I really do. I don't want to eat animals either. Like, if there was a possible way for me to be as healthy as I can be without doing it, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I accept that my body is my body, and I have to love myself as much as possible. And I absolutely have respect for every life that creates life in me. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about it too, death isn't real, and this could go a terrible direction. I can see this going a terrible direction. Just kill anything, whatever, it doesn't matter. But when you think about it, like, life and death is a cycle, and it's a continuum.
Yeah.
If you will. Mm-hmm. So anyways, that's kind of extra. I really want to touch on one more thing with you before it's time to go.
Yeah.
And I want to just ask you a little bit about your empowered motherhood movement. I know that it's something that you've been working on, and you're pregnant now, so congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I just believe, let me tell you why before I let you talk.
No,
I just I feel, and I don't know if I'll ever have children, but I feel that if I was to become a mother, I would want to really be mindful with everything. The second I find out, I'd be like, okay, how do I create this empowering, and gentle and loving, as loving as possible? Like, how do I create the best environment for this person that is going to be on the earth? And how can I take care of myself so that that person can be nurtured like they need to be? So go ahead.
Feel your best too. Yes, we want healthy babies, but we also want healthy mamas, it's really important that women are healthy before pregnancy, during pregnancy, after pregnancy, because it really takes a lot from your body. Like, you have this thing, one of my friends was telling me the other day, she's trying to get pregnant right now, and her doctor was talking to her about, you need to get this in balance and that in balance and all these other things in balance first, because she said to her, a baby is a parasite, right? it is literally sucking everything out of your body. So if you're deficient, you're going to be even more deficient once you're pregnant. And I was like, that is the truth for sure. Like your entire body is just so drained, you know? So you have to take care of yourself as much as humanly possible so that you feel good, but also so that you can have, like you said, like the healthiest little human possible too. And then so your recovery time isn't as horrendous either, and you have less likelihood of developing postpartum depression, and things like that, you know, if your nutrients are intact in your body and you're actually caring for yourself. I think it's been a big thing in our culture to just, you know, oh, you're pregnant, eat McDonald's and ice cream. It's like a free-for-all. It's like, hello, you're growing a person, like, and you want to feel good. Like this is not the time to be eating like a 5-year-old, you know, like you don't want to be doing that. Yeah, the program is really about education, about birth practices in the U.S. Do you or don't you want to be a part of some of those things or all of those things or any of those things? And it's just evidence-based education on that. We do a lot of panels so we can figure out what's going to be the best for you, head off issues before they become big issues, and just make sure that mom and baby are the happiest, healthiest that they can possibly be throughout the entire process. And it's a lot of postpartum support as well and education, because that's huge. And it takes a year to recover from having a baby. You know, like we have this 6-week random thing that literally is not based on science whatsoever. It's just like an abstract number that's pulled out of the air. And it's like, you're healed after 6 weeks of growing a human for 40 weeks and then pushing it out of your vagina. Like, I don't think 6 weeks is an adequate amount of time to heal, for sure. It takes about a year. So, you know, just really honoring that process and helping women through that process so they don't feel like they have to be this image that society kind of puts out there that we should be, you know, get your body back and all these other things within this like short little window of time. It's unrealistic, you know? Your uterus isn't even back down to its normal size in 6 weeks, for crying out loud. Like you're not going to have a 6-pack after 6 weeks. Your uterus is still like large, you know? So just talking about a lot of that stuff, relationship support for, you know, the partners in the whole parenting scheme, and then physical therapy. I have a physical therapist who specializes in postpartum and pregnancy and things like that. Because, you know, your body goes through a lot of trauma when you're pregnant and then when you give birth and in the healing and all that stuff. And a lot of women are told, you know, when they come to their practitioners with different issues after they have a baby, you know, sex hurts, or now I pee when I laugh, or my back hurts really bad, my hips hurt really bad, my knees hurt, this hurts, that hurts, whatever. You know, I'm tired all the time, whatever. They're told that, oh, you're a mom. Just because you're a mom now, that's just how it is. It's like, no, it's not how it is. Like, if you're peeing when you laugh or run or jump or sneeze or anything like that, you have pelvic floor dysfunction, and that can be totally fixed with physical therapy. If you have back pain, hip pain, knee pain, any of these other issues, or you have that constant pooch in your stomach and you can't get rid of it no matter what, you probably have diastasis recti, where your abdominal wall has completely split, and that can be fixed with physical therapy. You know, if sex is painful, that is not okay. You deserve to enjoy sex just as much as your partner does. So all these things that women are told are not, it just doesn't sit well with me. So I have Dr. Missy, who works with me on the program, and she's a physical therapist, like I said, and she does all of her appointments distance as well. If she needs additional help where she needs some like hands-on for you, she'll refer to somebody else in your area. She can do that, but yeah, you can do a lot just over Zoom. So she works with the physical part of that. And if we can help, you know, women have their bodies in like prime positioning before they give birth, well, then they're labors and deliveries are so much better, so that's a big part of it too.
Wow, that's so awesome. I mean, this program that you have, it's just, I think it's really very much needed right now. And I'm calling you if I get pregnant, like probably before my mom.
Awesome.
Hi, Mom.
What?
I'll probably let John know, and then I'll call you, and then and then no, but I just feel like that is something this world really needs, and it's another way that you are here showing the way, bringing in the light of conscience, and just anchoring it in. Because you're right, like 6 weeks is not what does that even mean, really? It means nothing.
It really means, like, if you Google it, like, what is the foundation of this time,
well, it's money, Erin. That's what it is.
But Google probably won't tell you that. That's not going to be like the thing. All about money.
It's about money. But that being said, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today. And if anybody wants to get a hold of Erin, all of her information will be in the show notes. So please look her up. And I believe you are in the Light of Conscience community on Facebook as well, right?
Yes, I am.
So you can go join that group if you're not there, or find her in the Light of Conscience community on Facebook. And yeah, I hope you connect with her if you're having any issues with any digestive health or any health at all, because it's probably starting in your gut. All right. Thanks a lot, Erin. And I hope I see you again soon.
I know. I got to get to Hawaii. Thank you for having me. It's been fabulous. I appreciate it.
Isn't she awesome? I hope that if you have any nutritional questions, you reach out, or even if you just want to connect with a fellow Awai Shower, all her links are going to be down in the show notes. And you can also, again, find her in the Light of Conscience free Facebook community. And all you got to do is look up Light of Conscience and you'll see the whale. If you're a Awai Shower looking for some added support so you can shine your ultimate brightest in this world and we can make a difference together, please check out Club LC. It is for you. The URL is bit.ly/club, capital L, capital C. Make sure the LC is capitalized because it stands for Light of Conscience. And Laura Christine. It's enough to say I love you. It's enough to say let's try. Don't know about tomorrow, but right now